for the first time, you got a bit of a target in your back because everything else was kind of a bit of a free roll.
Yeah, I quite like that though. I like being, I like being number one. I like people trying to beat me.
Hello, welcome along to the latest edition of Tungsten Talk here at the MODUS Super Series, our series where we delve into the life of some of our top darting stars. And today we're going to be delving into the career so far of the reigning WDF Girls World Champion Paige. And Paige, great to see you here. First of all, when I say the words world champion, how do they sound?
Because it was like being world champion, it's just surreal really. Like, it's something that I wanted to win, like, for a while. So when I did it, it was like amazing. So yeah.
And it's been an amazing story to get you to this point. I want to go back to the beginning and where the story for you and darts began. When did you first pick a set up, for example?
Well, my brother started playing, and then he went around to like tournaments, and I used to go along with him just to watch. And like, I never really thought about picking up darts really, and then it was just like, I just so happened to pick them up and then throw them, and then it turned out I weren't as bad as maybe people thought, and then yeah, I started playing, and then yeah.
So it was almost something you kind of fell into to a certain extent.
Yeah, pretty much.
And so from that initial point when you picked the set and you realised, actually, I'm okay at this, when did you think, actually, I might take another step? Was it a case of just playing games against family and then maybe thinking, actually, I might take this a little bit further?
Well, I think, like, I just kept going, and then I used to play with my brother, and then we'd go to tournaments, I used to just stand there and practice. Like, I wouldn't play, I'd just watch, and I'd practice on the boards. And then, like, I started playing well. I said to my dad, look, I'm playing quite well. And then he just put me in tournament, and in the first tournament I entered, I got to the final win. So.
And that's the opportunities that are now here in 2025 and moving forward, the developments of things such as the JDC, academies, different tournaments for different age groups. I know when I was a junior player, we was sort of the generation that a lot of people were saying we was lucky because we had things like a junior county league where you'd have a best of three. You'd play tournaments where you might win a TV and a certificate. Now they're playing for serious money these days. It can be a legitimate career. It can really be a place where you can bread it in and get that apprenticeship, so to speak, in the world of darts. And not only that now, through things like the development tours, there's even pathways now into the professional game where we're seeing young players breaking through and getting into events like the World Championship, the Grand Slam of darts. There is so many opportunities now for young players, and that's why we're seeing a lot of people like Paige breaking through.
And so from yourself, when you played that first competition, you decided to brave it, actually give it a go. When was the next step? So was it, okay, I might play another one, see how I go, and then at what point do you think, actually, I can take this a little bit more seriously now?
Well, after I got to the final of the first one I played in, it was like lockdown. So I just kept practicing through that, and I got better. And then I think we just thought, like, I got to the final of the first one I went to, so let's just try and see what else I can do. And then, yeah, pretty much just excelled from there, really.
It's very interesting, Matt, because you see the generation that are coming through now, because a lot of people picked up their darts in lockdown. We've spoken about other players in the past that have picked darts up during lockdown and have had very successful careers. I feel it's a generation now, because they've had that time in lockdown to really take on the sport seriously, that the next gen that come through are probably more ready than any generation in the past.
Well, when you think about darts over the last sort of 5 years, everything's worked out perfectly for the sport in general. I mean, lockdown was a terrible period of time, but what else was you going to do during that period? You couldn't go out and socialise, you couldn't go out and play any other sorts of sports or activities, so people turned to darts. It was something you could play at home, it was something that you could play with other people across the internet, with developing platforms and leagues and everything that came around during that period of time. We've seen players like Cameron Crabtree, who went into lockdown, traditionally a terrible dart player, and he came out the other side where he nearly won a Super Series title and is battling out to get a PDC Tour card and very close to doing so, semi-finalist on the Pro Tour. So that period of time, a lot of people really knuckled down. It benefited some, it hindered others. Some people sort of like what darts is or was at the time and like sort of that environment, but what it did is it allowed people to get a lot of practice in, and it certainly did change the face of darts. And coming out of the other side of it, lots of new systems like the Super Series, you know, that came from sort of the lockdown period of time, and had that period of time not been there, would we have opportunities that we've got now? I don't think we would have, and it's exciting to see what other opportunities are going to develop, because how darts is growing, certainly with the Luke Littler effect, shall we say.
And then straight after lockdown, we saw you in WDF tournaments. I remember commentating at Selsey back in 2021 at the England Open when you went on to win that particular title. Could you imagine that so quickly after lockdown, so quickly involved in the sport, that you could pick up a title like that so quickly?
No, I mean, I definitely weren't expecting it. Obviously, like, back then I didn't really, like, expect to, like, win anything, really. I just went into every tournament level-headed and just, you know, tried my best, and I managed to come out with the title, so... And I was like, wow, I could actually do this, like, more often. And then I just did, and then it was like, yeah.
Was that almost the confidence boost that you needed to think, okay, I've done this once, I've achieved it once, what can I do now?
I mean, definitely. It was just a feeling that I wanted to feel again. It was just, like, really surreal. Like, I really wanted to do well, and I have done well. I'm happy with what I've achieved so far, and I just want to see what else I can do, really.
How does that affect day-to-day life? Because you're coming through darts, you're making a bit of a name for yourself in this alternate world, but we've still got to balance things like school life and a normal life. How does that balance for you?
Well, my school are really good with, like, this. They're very supportive. So, yeah, whenever I need to, like, go to a darts tournament, they always give me the time off. And, yeah, whenever I win something, they really like to know about it. And... yeah, I did my GCSEs and I passed all them, and now I'm doing my A-levels, so yeah.
That is the correct answer, not what I did. I was one of those, I'm going to be a dart player, I don't need to worry about the GCSEs and school and the backup plan, I don't need to worry about any of that. And that's what's so good as well in the world of darts at the moment, because there's so many opportunities, as we've already said. But there's a lot of guidance now. As Paige alluded to, the school's sort of backing and supporting it. We've got academies that have experienced figureheads. We know Paige is signed up by a manufacturer, which again will have guidance. And these are things that just didn't exist before. And the things that back in the day, again, we would love to have had, and great steps forward for the sport.
Did you ever go to school?
Sometimes, yeah. The Christmas dinner day was good. Secret Santa day was always a good one as well. And Easter.
It's only in December.
Mostly.
But for you, Paige, I suppose, how much of a balancing act was it once you realised, actually, I'm really good with this? I want to take it more seriously, but to do it, I suppose, had a lot of sacrifices. Do you remember what those conversations were like with your parents, with the school, as to what your next steps were going to be in your darts career?
Well, we've always sort of known that, like, I think I'm going to be a dart player, so like it's kind of something that, like, yeah, we just knew was going to happen. I just have to balance it. I do balance it quite well, I think. So, yeah.
So from that point, you realise, OK, I'm going to commit to this a bit more. What was the schedule like? What was the tournament play like? And what did you think, in terms of playing, what were the best routes for you?
Well, obviously, every tournament really is, like, over the weekend. So, like, in terms of school, I didn't really miss too much, really. But obviously, now I'm playing for England Women's. I've played England, I'm playing England Youth, so obviously that requires, like, maybe like a week out. But I always try and come back, and I always do my work travelling and all of that, so yeah.
And I suppose these are the commitments that we see in other sports like tennis, we see in other individual sports, but maybe we haven't seen as much in darts because of perhaps the backgrounds that initially it came from, the fact that it's still a sport that's growing. But for a lot of young people that are good at this sport, we've seen a lot of people post very good averages at a young age. It's a more serious conversation to have now.
There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. There's a lot of background that goes into this. It's not just a case of turning up and throwing darts. I mean, Paige alludes to some of the tournaments she's played in, and we know some of the tournaments she's played in, and that takes a lot of travel. It takes a lot of commitment, which traditionally she's not going to be able to do at the age that Paige is right now by herself. So that requires a very intense and support network. And that support network traditionally comes from family. And I've seen Paige at events. I've seen how supportive the family are. And just want to explain a little bit about sort of the support network you've got around you in regards to family or manufacturing and sort of what that team looks like behind the scenes.
I mean, yeah, obviously, my dad, he like books everything in. He tries to get me in as many tournaments as I can to make me the best that I can be. And they're all really supportive of my family, my mum, my dad, my brother. You know, my brother's kind of like a little like a coach to me, really. Like, if I do anything wrong, he fixes it straight away because he's just like, he's very good at that. So to be able to have that support behind me, it's what any dart player really wants. So yeah, it's brilliant.
And it's definitely the route to success. Let's talk about some of your big wins now. And I want to talk about the couple of World Masters. You won your first one in Assen in 2022 in the Netherlands. That must have felt really good because that was the first real major of your career that you won.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I went into it. I didn't expect to win it. I'll be honest. I went into it. I knew I had a few titles under my belt by then, and obviously I really wanted to win it. So I just went in there, tried my best, and I came out with the World Open and the World Masters title. And then last year, I just thought, you know, I really want to try and win all three because I missed out last time. I got two of them, missed out in the World Championships, and then last year I just really wanted to win all three, and I did.
Did you feel like, okay, I'm the number one now? But it also feel like because of what you've done previously, that actually for the first time you got a bit of a target in your back because everything else was kind of a bit of a free roll.
Yeah, I quite like that though. I like being number one. I like people trying to beat me. It's like, I don't know, I feel like it makes me a better player really because I know that I'm like the best and I want to continue to be the best.
Do you know, one of the questions I get asked a lot, like, Matt, you're going to get back to playing, why are you not playing? Reasons like this isn't the first time we've sat down with a young player. We had Luke Littler here in the past, and it's so the same. Yeah, I just fancy being world champion. It's so relaxed, isn't it? And it's so like, yeah, just take it in my stride. I'm going to be world champ. Oh, I'm world number one. Brilliant. It's just like everything's just in their stride, isn't it? There's no fear anymore within the young players. That's why we'll be out the way of that.
Well, me and Matt probably never will be world champions, but you are a world champion. What was it like playing in that final? And when that winning dart went in, what was that moment like?
I mean, obviously my semi-final game, I think I was probably a bit nervy. You know, it was the first time I've played on that stage, and it's such an iconic stage. And I wanted to do really well. So I won that game. I was really happy to just get over the line for that one. And then obviously when it came to playing Sophie, I know Sophie's such a good player. And like obviously every game that me and Sophie have, they're brilliant games really. And yeah, I think we both played pretty well. And then when I hit the winning double, it was just kind of like, wow, really. I didn't really know what to say.
What was the reaction like afterwards? I can imagine your phone was buzzing like no tomorrow. I can imagine there were so many messages of congratulations. What was it like afterwards? And did it take a little while to sink in?
Yeah, it did. Like, obviously, the amount of support I got from everyone, you know, like the messages, yeah, I'm so grateful for all of them. And it's really nice to know that I have people that watch me and enjoy watching me play. So, yeah.
So, you're the number one, you're the world champion, you're the world master, you have everything in the catalogue. What does 2025 look like for Paige Pauling?
Just going to keep doing what I'm doing. Hopefully win all those again. Try and do a bit better in the women's maybe. And just see what happens.
And Paige's story is an amazing one, but one thing we're seeing more and more often in the game is players coming through at likes of Paige Aid. Obviously Luke Littler is the main example because of what he's done over the last couple of years. But we're seeing the age of players progressing and developing at a level and the rate that Paige is at become more and more frequent. And I suppose when you look at the likes of the academies, the likes of which obviously Paige has been a part of, manufacturers signing players on, there's more of a professional side towards the youth side of the sport, which even 5-10 years ago just wasn't there.
There's more guidance as well, isn't there, nowadays? But I think the case in point in regards to the lowering age of talent now within darts is the World Championship final of 2025. Michael Van Gerwen versus Luke Littler, a 35-year-old takes on a 17-year-old. How many years ago did we say a 35-year-old was a young gun in the sport? Where nowadays that's sort of like he's aging. He's actually getting on a little bit now. So the sport is becoming a more younger player sport, as you say, with the developments of everything that's coming through. But I like the direction it's going as well, because people are thinking about this more than just hitting targets now. One thing Paige said a moment ago that really sparked my interest was, she said, I like the fact people enjoy watching me play. And I think that's vital as well, because what we can't lose during this period of time and during this boom, what's going to make darts go even further and sort of break that glass ceiling, so to speak, to coin a phrase, is the entertainment side of things. People need to enjoy what they're watching and enjoy who they're playing, not just say who can hit 100 average this week or who's going to win that. It needs to be enjoyment and entertainment as well. So the fact to hear that come out of young players' mouths as well is really exciting.
In terms of yourself, you signed up to an elite academy with a manufacturer. Just tell us, first of all, how those conversations came across and how they help you in terms of guidance, in terms of helping you to be the best of yourself.
Well, I mean, I've been sponsored by Target now for a couple of years. And they supply me with all equipment, anything that I need. You know, I just send Lorraine an email, or my dad sends Lorraine a message or whatever. And then, yeah, they're very on the ball and they're very helpful. So, yeah.
Lorraine Winstanley's done so much to help players, particularly the likes of yourself. What kind of guide has she been, and how important are people like Lorraine in helping young people all together on their journeys?
Yeah, she's really supportive. Every time I do well or whatever, like, she sends me a message, or maybe if I don't win, she sends me a message and she'll just go, you know, don't worry about that or whatever. And then, yeah, it's very supportive. So, yeah.
And there are people like Lorraine, Delfit, and another manufacturer as well, that are offering that guidance and that tutelage to players that have played at the highest level. I mean, Lorraine's a world master, world number one, a world championship finalist, Delfit, and had one of the all-time great careers. And the fact that players can have tutelage off of people like that and then get the support off of manufacturers that are willing to invest funds into those players, that's a key component towards players of the future getting all they need to see the likes of Lula, see the likes of Paige Pauling come through.
Yeah, they've got experience. They've been out there. They've travelled the circuit. They've paved the way, so to speak. Certainly, when we look at ladies' darts, it didn't really exist in its form. You know, you can't sugarcoat it. There was times where people would go to tournaments and the champion would lose money because the prize money just wasn't there, and now it is. And the players that came beforehand sort of have paved the way now for the players to reap the rewards of that, and it's now for this generation to take it to that next level and sort of grab the opportunities that are now being developed in the modern world.
Well, it's been great. Thank you for your company, Matt. Paige, it's been really great to get to know you a bit more, to talk about your story, and hopefully there'll be many more chapters to come, fingers crossed.
Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. Paige, thank you very much. Matt, thank you very much. Thank you very much for watching the latest edition of the Tungsten Talk here at the MODUS Super Series.